So welcome to another episode of Women Lifting Women. I'm Emma Raz, your host. You already know me, so boring. Women Lifting Women is a podcast dedicated to female voices in leadership and tech. And we're today joined by one of my favorite female leaders. And I said, okay, look, I have a lot of amazing women joining me, so I'm very fortunate. But you'll see her and you'll know I'm right. Jen, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Oh, Emma, that was a very sweet intro. You're one of my favorites as well. I love working with you. So I'm Jen Oon. I am the EVP of Sales at DAX. I've been here for a little bit over a year. I've spent the majority of my career in digital media. So that's the last 20 plus years. I don't want to say exactly how many years because it makes me feel very old. I started out on the buying side, on the agency side for the first few years before I moved over to the sales side. I've done a lot of different digital media sales, but the majority most recently has been in audio.
And we're talking about some really impressive lists of companies. I was literally going through my notes of even my first question is going to name drop some heavy hitters. So if you've helped build and grow business across Pandora, one, Spotify, another, Paramount, and DAX, what is it about building something new that continues to excite you? And those are some big names on that list.
Yeah, I've been so fortunate. I would say the luck of have worked with some great folks who I stayed in touch with. And I've had mentors along the way who have really supported me in my growth and recommended me to great positions and great companies. What I've loved about being at those different businesses is that they were at different inflection points. And I got to contribute to testing and learning. For example, at Pandora, my team was the first guinea pig to verticalize sales, and it was really hard. It was not an easy feat. When a company is used to doing something or doing business a certain way, change is difficult. But there's something really exciting about seeing how you can build and grow that together as a team and discover ways of working or new businesses or new lines of revenue that we didn't even forecast. We didn't even see was possible. We never knew that streaming for TV and for streaming entertainment would become such a huge part of that vertical, that sub-vertical for entertainment, but became one of our most successful subcategories. So I think it's also having the team around you and the leadership around you that allows you to test and learn, to fail fast and pivot, and an environment where you can take accountability, where it's like, hey, actually that didn't work. Actually, this is probably not good for the business. We should probably think about this a little bit differently.
Really, and also just that and say that. I think that's it's really healthy space where you can say, you know what, this ain't working. This is not working. We need to change. Or this, well, I thought it would work and then it failed, and it's okay that it failed, and it's okay to try, because that's how you grow and how you learn. You have two things about when I was trying to implement within number 8 in terms of ethos and mentalities. Okay, one, we encourage failure. Because people need to feel free to fail, so they will take risk and try new things. If we discourage failure and we make it a big deal, then people will just not try to do new things, and that's where innovation lies. Second, only fail with the same thing once. Second time, I do not like to make the same mistake twice. That means that I got to do this mistake, it failed, great, I'm going to now change. If you're repeating the mistakes, bigger problem, and that means something is broken more fundamentally. And that's how I see it.
Yeah, and I think that comes up too as you are managing teams, right? If you're implementing a change to really optimize away from making that same mistake again, but it keeps happening, now that's a different conversation.
So that is a big thing for me personally. Because I'm I want to make new mistakes. I don't want to make the same mistake. I want to just go somewhere else. So I think that's some people are really within that mentality, and some people are kind of like opposite, and it's finding how we
Yeah.
all, as you said, how we all align.
And I feel like so I was at Pandora for a bit, went over to Gimlet, which was startup, and it was moving so fast. Then we got acquired by Spotify. Spotify for me was like the incubator for being okay with change, because the speed of change there was just something I'd not experienced before. And to shout out another amazing female leader, Julie Clark, who came on to help onboard Gimlet. We're focused on podcast production and monetization, like really onboarding us and integrating us into the Spotify business. She was so good at just speaking very directly, very honestly of like, this is the situation. It's not perfect. And I need you to be okay with partial information. Because all of us at that point were like, wait, what's going on? We want to know the plan. We want everything ironed out. We want everything laid out. And it was a very quick lesson on, you got to be okay with change, and it's going to be okay. So like we got to do our best based on what we currently know, and no one is going to crucify you that it doesn't go perfectly. And so changing my mindset for that was really critical, because I think prior to, that experience, I was very linear. I was just like, must be this way. And then this is next. And then this is next. And then this is next. And then when that was getting blown up, I almost had a moment where like, can I do this? This is a lot. This is really hard. This is difficult to take in the amount of change that is happening. And there was so much uncertainty. Podcast was a very new part of the Spotify business. It was also new for me. I had made that move over to Gimlet just 6 months before we were acquired. So, I mean, a lot was happening within just a year's time of making this major change, because I'd been at Pandora for over 6 years. And then now it was like rapid change. And then we got acquired, and then we were joining this, major brand. So I think from then it has really sparked in me. Like, I enjoy being able to build that with like-minded folks who are open to trying new things, but have the best intention at heart. And also we give each other the benefit of the doubt. So I feel like that's what I keep searching for, is that right team, that right environment, that right energy. Because that's what I want to be spending my time on. Knowing we spend so much time with our colleagues, so much time working compared to our personal time. That's what I've been searching for, I would say, for the last few places that I've worked. And I really do feel like I found that at DAX. And I even tell my boss, Brian, this, like, within the first couple of weeks, sometimes after you start a new job, you're like, oh crap, what did I do? And I told him, like, I haven't had that moment at all. Like, it's been so reassuring of like, okay, that interview process was many months, and I wanted to make sure it was the right move, and I was going to the right place with the right kind of environment for growth. And I'm just been very happy with the decision that I made, because I was in crazy interview mode when I was talking to DAX, talking to a bunch of different places. But yeah, I'm looking to really grow and build success with, like-minded team members. So it's been pretty good so far. It's been a little bit over a year.
I mean, I was about to say the same about DAX, and from my own experience, I was about to say, but you guys have an amazing team. I was about to kind of like say the same. And I also really love Brian, even though I don't work for him, but I also.
Brian is one of the best. Yes. He's a big reason why I moved over here. Like, that's a big part of making a decision for any job, is like, who are you working for? You're going to be spending a lot of time with that person.
Absolutely. And I can honestly say that when I got an email from Brian or a message, I will say to, like, even my husband say, oh, Brian messaged me. It makes me smile, because he makes me smile.
He's just one of the kindest, nicest people in our industry. So I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Brian. He's just solid, 100%. So
all of you make me very happy. So I always say, if I smile when I see a message or something, it's always just it means a lot in terms of how positive it is and what I feel about the person. So I'm like, this is genuine, real story. And I was like, oh, I'll get to see you guys when you come to London. So I was really excited. And
Yeah.
I'm glad we got a bit of time, though. It was
Yes,
really
we did.
We did. With some hash browns and other things. Talking about, because you said about teams and how to manage teams and like the importance of building a team that you really like to work with. And it leads me to my next question, which is all about when community building and mentoring team members, and you also work in supporting Asian in advertising, and you were a part of Spotify's, if I understood correctly, what API means, like Asian American Pacific Islanders. Good. I was just like double checking. So there's quite a few things that you've done throughout your career, and I just saw that you went to an event recently, so it's still something that you're heavily involved in. Why does it become such an important part of your leadership journey and style?
Yeah, that building community, especially within the AAPI community, and this is just being me very honest, is it was a part of me I was trying to erase in the beginning of my career. I tried to make it invisible, even though it's very visible. I don't look like most folks in the room when it's a sales meeting. Very early on in my career, I did an internship at a digital sales company or digital sales team. And I like from the get-go, I was an outsider. I have always felt like an outsider. And so little things, they're all the unspoken, what I guess people call microaggressions, but they're really just little unspoken things that would happen where I'm like, oh, I guess that's not okay. Or, oh, my experience is really different from everyone else's. I don't think I want to talk about my experience because it puts a spotlight on me that's not necessarily positive. It comes out as almost strange, like I'm this strange alien in the room. So, I would bring my lunch into this office. It was a Midtown office, small little sales team, probably about 15 people. And I was in college, so it's not like I can afford eating out in Midtown at that time. It's probably like $15, $20. And I would bring in my lunch because I was living with my grandmother. I was staying with my grandmother to go to this internship in Queens. It'd take me an hour to get there. And it was a way to save money. And she only makes traditional Cantonese style Chinese food. So it's the stinky stuff. And usually the stinky stuff is the most tasty. But in an office environment where no one is Chinese, let alone of color, no one was of color. I was the only person of color in that office. And I'm the youngest. I'm the intern. Two of the more junior ladies, they invited me to have lunch with them in the conference room, and I brought my lunch in, and you could just see it on their faces when I opened up my lunch after I had just heated it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have not experienced this since I was a kid, like in elementary school. And it just didn't occur to me that I might experience that in the workplace, because I had gone to Rutgers University and it was very diverse and it's a very big Asian population. And it's actually where I made most of my first Asian friends. Like my school growing up, my elementary and middle school and high school, really no Asians, maybe a handful. So that was very eye-opening to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I need to rethink, how do I show up in this office? Because I am getting the sense I'm being perceived as a big weirdo. So I stopped bringing lunches in, and I had to figure out, I was only making I think I was getting $100, $150 stipend per week. So I'm like, how do I afford subway fare from Queens, where I'm staying with my grandmother, and then still have enough to eat lunch or acceptable lunch in the office? And I still had that experience even after that internship, even at some of these companies that you mentioned as part of my pedigree. I have always had that perspective as the outsider. When people would chit chat with me, I did not know how to chit chat with them because the things that they would share with me, I'm like, I cannot relate at all. I don't know what you're talking about when you're talking about country clubs. I've never had a country club membership. I've never had a birthday party there. I've never played golf. And my summers as a kid was actually staying home. No one was home with me. I would be home watching my brother. And that's because we didn't have the money for summer camps and all of that stuff. But it's just a weird thing to kind of say out loud in a conversation where everyone's like, oh yeah, when I went away for the summer, we went away to our second home. Like we have a home by the beach. And I'm like, okay, I can't relate to that. And it would just these, unspoken things would happen. And like, I feel more and more like I cannot relate. And so as I saw, some of these companies had ERGs for the Asian community, I'm like, I need to know that I'm not alone in this experience, that someone else has also had immigrant parents who scraped by to do everything they could to provide for me. And that some of my experiences can be related to by other people. So that's where I found that. I was like, okay, I feel much better. I'm not the only one. There is a handful of us. It's starting to grow a little bit. But because I didn't have that early on in my career, I'm so passionate about being able to mentor other Asian Americans to truly grow in our industry and network and provide advice, do some coaching, because I wish I had that. I wish I had seen more leaders who looked like me. It's starting to grow a bit. It's not that there's none, but it's just not as common to see, Asian women in leadership, because there's a lot of stereotypes about us being timid or too quiet or not enough executive presence, which I think is a bunch of BS, by the way. Anyone who tells a woman you don't have executive presence is a very, I would say, yeah, it is a backhanded way of saying like, well, I don't think you deserve to be here. Because what exactly is executive presence? Like, I don't know that anyone knows what the true definition of that is.
But also, like, if you're comparing it to like a 50-year-old man, white man, then yeah, I will never look like that. Neither will I. Like, I will never look like, I will never speak like one because I'm not one.
Exactly.
Not feel the same. Also, if I try to say what they say, it will be weird. And have to.
It would be so weird, actually, if we did.
Yeah, it will be very weird. It has to come from a place that is authentic. And it sounds a bit different from every person because we come from different experiences. I can really relate to being the outsider because I'm an immigrant even in my own country. It's very odd. Because I have an accent even in Hebrew and I don't look even like them. I don't look exactly the same. It's just really funny. And I feel very foreign, especially where I was born. And I'm never going to have that, oh, here, this is the perfect. And it's all right. I have learned to accept it and love it. And we are a very diverse family with even just within my household, there's like, we're covering all religion almost. We're just a very I understand how alienating that could feel. And it's not easy. And you are judged for difference that come from something else, comes from culture norms, come from like many, many different things. It's also a power in the right mentality. And it allows you to see the world very differently necessarily from the people around you. But yes, I found those comments and responses and reasoning for not promoting women and not recognizing women of any, especially diverse, especially non-standard or diverse women and women of color, but women in general, very frustrating. If for people who haven't, I can understand why they would feel different or why they would, like some people find certain like if they've never been exposed to something, it's quite hard. But I guess that's why the power of having different people from different backgrounds coming in together and having different experiences I, for example, really value living in different places. It's one of
Yeah.
the most valuable life experience I've had of
Mhm.
simply not visiting, living in different countries. Um, because what it taught me and how it built me to be so much more resilient, and so much more flexible or okay with, like you said, change, ambiguity, lack of like confusion, um like nothing else. For me, funnily enough, China was the first place. So like for me, it's like a strong love, and like more of a affiliation. So I feel like something I will just gravitate towards, like towards that, unlike the other people. So I have probably positive biases. Zane talked like he has one Korean co-worker, and I love him first. First, I started with love, because just like, okay. So I'm aware I have positive biases. I'm not saying necessarily that's correct,
Yeah.
but I think we all, to some degree, connect to something that is familiar for us. So
Right.
it's hard, and a lot of the time I'll just try to find a topic, anything that we can connect on. I was like, okay, we can
Yeah.
connect on this,
Yeah.
and this is a bridge now for us to like build on. But I can see how community became such a big part of your journey and why it's so important. So it's lovely that you built that, and that you hopefully feel more seen and more, well, like a part of this, like part of the wider community as well.
I had to get comfortable with it myself. I think because in the beginning it was a lot of fear of judgment. I was well-intentioned advice, but I did get pretty bad advice to hide my personal life from my work life, to keep it very
Mm.
separate. And it was not helpful, like not sharing more about myself, who I am, what I'm interested in with my colleagues, and getting to know them better. So I think once I finally was okay with like, I want this part of me to be visible. I want people to know this about me, share more about my family, where I've come from, where my parents are from. I just found so much more joy at work when I was able to allow myself to be okay and to be myself instead of constantly editing who I showed up as at work so that it would be palatable for everybody else. Let me be the sanitized version of myself so that I won't make anyone uncomfortable, or I won't come up with some weird story about my childhood is really different. Like I was left alone a lot, and that is just the reality. Like I figured out how to make food for myself and my younger brother because I had to. My parents both worked, and they
Yeah.
worked weird hours. So like that, I had to also come to terms with myself first, and I had to be okay that this is who I am at work and not at work. And I felt very rewarded by that. And it only grew once I got connected with the different ERGs, not just the AAPI ERGs, but even just the women ERGs. I got really involved with the Pandora Women ERG, and it was just so rewarding. Like we did so much community work together, and there were so many things that we were doing to really build up each other and encourage each other in our own individual career paths, and help one another out. So I think, you know, if you are feeling a bit of an outsider in general, I think it's important that you do find different connections. It's not going to be perfect. I don't think there is really any group that's like, oh, I perfectly fit here, right? Even in our own families, sometimes we're like, I'm the weirdo in my family. Everyone is this. Not that that's my family, but like, you know,
I am the weirdo. I
sometimes,
am. It's okay. I am the weirdo of my family, Jen. You're not alone. I am
yeah,
definitely the weirdo of my family.
as long as you can find connection in other places, that you have that connection doesn't have to be perfectly like we're the same in all these different ways. There is something really wonderful about it, right? And having that community. And so, yeah, I've really enjoyed that time also at Spotify being part of their ERG. They've done like amazing things. And now, since I am at DAX, we're a small team. I would say some of those like types of programs, something we're going to build towards, but there's only 30 of us in the US. But I was happy to participate and help out with Asians in Advertising, which is a nonprofit that was founded on the West Coast, and connect with and really network with more folks in our industry. So that's been pretty cool.
That's lovely. And I completely agree. You find your family, like you have your family, and I love my family, but yeah, I'm definitely different. It's okay. You just also learn to love and just be okay with being, it's all right. I can be different, and I'm never going to fit into a particular mold, and that's life and okay. And so I think that's something, it's more like as you said correctly, it's an acceptance. And that's a good time to kind of, like, it's not even a pivot because it's a direct connection. We're talking about the importance of community and coaching and all of those really great activities that help connect and build team and build. And by building team, you can really build stronger companies and more resilient companies. And that allows to do much more. With like bringing more revenues, like achieving more. And it's all connected to like, what are the qualities you think also needs to come from leadership? What do you think great leaders will do differently when they're developing a team or developing people, even more important?
Yeah, I think a good leader is able to have the tough conversations. And it's not as common as you might think. Managers need to give constructive feedback to their people. Be really honest. But before you do that, you need to build trust. Out of nowhere, you can't say like, hey, you're kind of not doing these things well. It will not be received as openly if that person doesn't trust you and they think that you're out to get them, or that you're only critical and you are only there to tell them when they mess up, right? Like, first part is you got to build trust. You really do need to get to know your team members, care about them as full humans. They're not just there to help check off a box on your business. Know what else is happening outside of work that you can support them. I don't think people realize how much and how far that goes for someone to know, wow, my manager knows a lot about my life and cares about what's going on in my life. And then when you need to give them feedback, that is also caring about them in a different way. You have to give them that constructive feedback so that they can succeed, right? You need to understand, what are they working towards? That helps as well. Know what they are trying to achieve. And then you bring to them like, hey, I want to incentivize you by giving you this feedback so you can get there. I want to see you get there. But unless we work on these things, we're not going to be able to get to where you want to land. So I would say it's like twofold. It's like good leaders will build trust with their people, get to know them. And then the second is have those tough conversations. It's kind of like how I see being a parent. You can't really love your kid by letting them do whatever they want.
Right.
You're going to have to keep them in line and let them know like, hey, you're doing great in these areas, but this is where I really need you to focus in on. Like, this is where I need you to change that behavior. I don't know if I've shared with you, Emma, but I am also a foster mom. And this is very top of mind for me because we have a foster child right now. We've had to have a lot of tough conversations. Kids come to us and they are like, I'm here, it's a vacation, because we make it very comfortable for them.
Yeah.
They are, coming with us on trips, or we bring them out, or, they're eating well and we are buying them new clothes and all this stuff. So they're like, oh, okay, I'm on vacation. And then when certain things come up, we're like, no, you're not on vacation. You're here with us. We care about you, but we want you to become, the young man or woman that you want to be. And I'm gonna have to tell you some tough things.
Yeah.
I'm going to take your phone away and you're not going to like it. But at 8:00, there's no more phone time in my house. And if you want to stay, this is what it looks like. So I bring a lot of that to the dynamics in the office place because I care about my people. I don't want them to stay where they are. I want them to forward and I want them to succeed. I know what their goals are, but I have to be able to speak honestly to them. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job. If I let them continue with this nonsense, and then it affects the dynamics of the rest of the team, right? Some of that's like poor behavior can become toxic. That is my job to keep it in check. If I sense any sort of, wait, something's off here, these two folks are not on the same page. Somehow they're communicating, they're getting really frustrated with each other. They're not on the same page. I need to come in and talk to each of them and be like, how is this going? Did you guys try addressing it directly?
Mhm.
Then let me come in. Let me hear from both of you. Let's figure out, understand where, you know, the misalignment happened, and then how do we want to move forward? So yeah, for me, it's almost like a good leader is almost like a good parent as well.
I agree.
Build that
I mean,
trust, fun, but then have the tough conversations and the discipline.
So, I mean, for me, it's like having the tough conversation, but also like, where are we trying to get to? So it's like, I always build it into like two stages. One, if I say that, will it help? Like, what are the things I need to let go of? Meaning, it's a cat. I cannot change it. These are things that are too small. Let it go.
Yeah.
They're not going to mirror me.
Yes. You don't fight about everything.
Like, also, like, it's just gonna make like them self-conscious, and it's just gonna make it worse. If I'm just gonna make them worse because they just now question everything, it's not gonna help anything. I have to think of different ways to fix it, and sometimes that's indirect, meaning because I can't tell them, it will just make them question everything. It will be worse. Second, the thing that I want to change, how do I make them feel like I'm on their side to change it?
Yeah.
What do I do? I'm on your side. We're doing this together. How do we fix it? Even if it's hard, some of those things are hard. And I've had places like they were trying to do something and it was really not in their nature to do it. It was really frustrating. The beginning was like really hard. And I was also like, it's not like, why is it so hard? Like, I just like, and then just trying to find ways in which to make it simpler. Eventually we got there. We got to a great place, but that's not always a great situation. And definitely when they fight, you have to try to like find a way to make both seen and like feel, because each of them has their own perspective. Now, like, some of it is legitimate, some of it's not legitimate, and I also do not encourage creating a situation where conflict is inevitable. So if you're like, okay, I'm going to put people in a sense when they're going to be they're going to clash, and I'm creating this for them. Then I'm the person to blame is me. I'm like, I just put them in a situation and like light the match. I'm like, okay, like, so that can happen. I've seen it happening in companies where people were like, if you're overlapping them, if you're creating conflict, if you're creating like they're on top of each other in terms of responsibilities, obviously this will create friction, and then you're creating friction, and then, oh, but why is there friction? Because like you created it. So at least for me, it's really important. Okay, if I see there could be a potential that there is gonna maybe get messy, like from the beginning, I'm like, okay, look, this is the situation. Are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with this? Do you understand how this is gonna move from one person to another? Do you are you comfortable working on this together? How is it going to look like? Mostly because I want to make sure both of them are bought in, both three, like bought into this idea from the beginning. So even when I try to force them to migrate to something new, which change is hard, I make them part of the decision. I can make a decision and just enforce it, but I don't want to. I just want to make them part of the decision, so they're bought in from this, so they will come to the same conclusion with me, and then they won't be so upset about it because they made the decision themselves.
And also, if you make the decision, then it'll be your job every single time an issue comes up again, and you're the referee, and that's not how it needs to be. I mean, it literally is this with parenting. I do this with my sons, where I'm like, I'm not your referee. The two of you are now old enough that you can have a conversation and figure it out on your own first, until it's like truly like you're at an impasse, you really can't figure it out. But like the first step should not be me. And as a manager too, we should not be the first step.
Yeah.
The first step should be a direct conversation. And a lot of folks, they're afraid of it. They like shy away from it. I have confronted a couple of folks before when I was managing a team. They would each complain to me about the other person. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm hearing something very different from the other person. Have you had a conversation? You guys need to talk, set up time. And then they both were like, oh, there's no issue. It's fine. It's fine. And I'm like, no, now I'm going to make you have a conversation. You need to talk about these things. I'll set the agenda. The two of you talk without me and come to a conclusion of like, where do you stand? But I need you to learn how to work together. I am not here to figure that out for you. I don't create chemistry between people to work together. You have to do that with each other. And then I'll come in if I really see like there's a problem here. But I was like, that's so interesting. Now there's no more problem. You have to talk.
I mean, that's because it's like it's just facing each other is the hardest spot. But and I found it to say also for myself, just forcing myself to like, okay, let's just talk it. Let's just talk it out. Let's just see how what's wrong and what can I do to like just make it better and just tell me just flat out like, so what do we need to do to make our communication better? But also with my team, I think that there was a few times I'm like, okay, you guys figure it out. And like, then we added me as mediation. So I have like, okay, so mediator, sure, let's do it with a mediator. And I will like, and we will try to find how it works. And like, that's not easy necessarily. And obviously you prefer not to deal with it, but that's part of people. And that's part of like dealing with people. So like,
yeah.
it is.
And I have found too that we all have to assume good intent from the beginning, unless proven wrong. Until you're proven wrong, until you're proven like, oh, that person actually had all negative intent, then that's a different conversation. I'm always going into it of like, can we agree that we all have good intentions here? We want the same thing. We're going about it differently and we're communicating about it differently. Can we all be on the same page that we are working towards the same goal? If not, then if we're not working towards the same goal, that's good to know too. Like, oh, this one person is working towards this. This person is working towards this. That's why there's misalignment. That's why they don't want the same thing. And they are, you know, essentially butting heads.
And especially if you're looking at across departments, like you are literally designed to push towards a different goal. Because that's part of the checks and balance that there is in a company. So sometimes it is very normal that you're going to butt head because you're fighting for resources or you're fighting, and both of you are supposed to fight it out. You're supposed to kind of duke it out.
Right.
AKA conflict. It's by design almost. And it's like I'm saying, those are like how companies function to a degree. We design companies with conflict, sometimes built in.
Yeah.
Because we're fighting, different departments will fight for the same resources. And even you see it like, okay, DAX, okay, we want the resources, we're trying to get the resources from the team. That's normal. To some degree, it's even potentially healthy. It's same as competition. Some degree of that is healthy. Too much of that can be toxic. So
and distracting.
Poison can also be medicine. It can also be poison.
That's true. Yes, that is very true. How much poison do we want to take, though?
So that's exactly. Well, I'm a big anime fan, so Apothecary Diaries is something I've watched quite recently. So like, so how much? Like, so that's. It depends on your disease, like depends on the situation, depends on what's the right fit, but it's also understanding that something that can be in certain dosage healthy can in other dosage can be really unhealthy. So you need to really find what's the right balance and when does it make sense and when it does not make sense, and what you as a manager are doing to help fix or create the problem, because if you're creating the problem, then you own it. And I own it. It's my problem. It's my team. And I'm the first person responsible.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think I don't know if I had a moment like this. But what do you think? Did you have a moment or an opportunity or something that changed the path of your career as a leader and kind of led you towards a bigger leadership role?
Yes. It was when I decided to not get promoted.
Mm.
So at Spotify, our team was changing very quickly after we got acquired, or after Gimlet got acquired. So at Gimlet, I was head of sales for East Coast. Very small team. There's only 100 people in Brooklyn. The sales team was small, probably less than 10 people. And the onboarding, we were still figuring out, again, partial information, a lot of uncertainty. And I was presented the opportunity to be promoted within the Spotify hierarchy to like a director of sales for podcasts. I chose not to. Saw that there was this other opportunity to get more involved on the higher ground, I guess, partnership that we had in place with the Obamas. So I knew we were going to be producing and selling Michelle and Barack Obama's first ever podcasts. And I really wanted to understand, how do we go about monetizing such top tier talent? And it was a new area for Spotify. They hadn't had this type of content before. And I saw the opportunity and I asked for it. And I said, is there any way that I can help work on this? I'm so interested in learning how to collaborate with accounting, with PR, with marketing, with Higher Ground Audio production company, with our sales team to bring this to market. And they said yes. So I took that in addition to basically no longer being a director or manager of sales, and I became an individual contributor again. I held a list, helped out specific verticals of sales for podcasts at Spotify while I did this other job, which was, how do we bring these podcasts to market? How do we monetize it? And they had some crazy revenue goals put against it. There was very high expectations from the Higher Ground Audio team. So interesting being in the room and hearing all the discussions, from the feedback all across the room, from editorial, from the finance team on what our forecasts were for the show, and negotiating what our expectations were with the Higher Ground team. So yeah, that actually allowed me to take bigger leadership roles after Spotify. If I didn't have that under my belt and I just continued doing what I was doing before, which is managing sales teams to drive revenue and hit revenue goals, I don't think I would have gotten that job at Paramount.
So what do you think you learned particularly that was really allowing you to kind of like, okay, make the jump after?
That I had exposure to things outside of just driving revenue.
Right.
I understood more about the ecosystem of how do we bring a show to market? What works, what doesn't work? What are the things we need to consider? What are the things that really impact the success of a show picking up? And how do we also, for such a really high tier talent, like how do we have to work with them so differently from any other show, any other podcast that we had at Spotify? This was a very unique way of working with them. They had very specific brand guidelines and stipulations. So having that exposure to everything else that happens when you need to bring a show to market and monetize it, that really helped. And I had to manage a lot of different teams cross-functionally that I didn't have exposure to before. So I think I went from only being in the sales org and running a sales team to then working cross-functionally with like 5 to 6 different teams. And they all have very different goals. So I need to bring them back to, this is why we need to care about revenue. This is why we need to care about these advertisers. This is what this means for you in marketing, for you.
Kind of like project management and project, like in product management, kind of like almost like, how do you bring all of these people together into a single, we all eventually need to achieve this one thing, and we all need to work together towards this one goal.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was selling it globally. So I was also managing global sales teams in Germany, in Canada, in New Zealand, in Australia, in London. Like we were doing specific sponsorships for each market. So it was the most project management I've ever had to do. But it was good. It was really good.
Educational.
Very hard, very difficult and challenging, but I got a lot out of it, and I'm glad I made that decision. So I took a step down to go up, I guess, eventually. It wasn't right away.
You have to go sideways. You have to go, like, I've definitely have done like different weird stuff to just then go a different direction. I think that's always also very educational, and I find it very enriching. And I know you probably have something else, but last quick question, and hopefully, and we're almost there. So last question is, what's the advantage of being a woman? And what's the superpower? What's your personal superpower, and how do you think it helped to shape your career?
I think our superpower, and we should lean into it and not take it as like, this is a stereotype about women, is our soft power to influence people. Lean into your kindness, lean into your caring, I guess, your caring personality. Get to know people as people. And when you bring up to them, oh, I remembered what you shared with me about your family, or about your upbringing, or about where you went to school, or you have this thing that's going on with your kid. I think our soft power is our power. And it, to a certain degree, disarms people, because when you're in business, you're expecting to be bullied, or you're expecting to be, you know, strong-armed into a deal. Women, we don't need to do that. And I've had many clients tell me, wow, the way that you works so well. I'm like, I know, because I'm not trying to force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. And I listen. I'm listening, I'm building trust. And that soft power, I think, is really women's power when it comes to business.
I agree. I think just remembering what people care about, like what they like, what they don't like, just feeling heard. I think feeling heard is more than just nodding, like being there and just like being quiet is truly being heard. It means the next time, you know, you remember what they said. You
paid attention.
Yeah. And that's for me much more powerful than just the quiet part and just letting me talk, because then I might as well talk to the wall. Like, I want to, if I'm saying something, I want to really hear and listen. And so I can completely understand. And I think that's a really good advice in general, also for general relationships. It's just really sound advice, and I think people just appreciate that.
Yeah, and not just for sales, any occupation, relationship building is so important and will only help you be more successful in the long run.
I agree. And I think that's a wonderful way to end the podcast. So thank you so much, and for joining us.
Thank you, Emma.
I hope you had fun. And for this episode and many others, please go to www.womenliftingwomen.io, and I'll see you all in the next episode.
Thanks so much for having me, Emma.
Thank you.